Baumgardner looked really dangerous. Terry looked like she lacked a little bit of confidence. Baumgardner's been playing on that this week. You can see it's a tactic.
When you have that belief that you can't beat somebody, you can't make your skills and your game plan work. ALYCIA Baumgardner said post-fight she wasn't feeling Terri Harper's energy pre-fight, and she was very confident. She invaded Terri's space. Terri was the champion, and after the weigh-in, it looked like ALYCIA got in front of her and started doing her muscle posing. Terri just kind of meekly went to the side and then done a few poses. Come fight night, they're in the ring. Terri looks stiff, looks tense. The belief is not there. ALYCIA walked out like she was fighting in her hometown. She was loose, dropping her hands, fluid, good footwork, good jab, versatile with the jab. She threw it to the body, she threw it up top, up jab, body jab. The right hand of Harper was telegraphed because she had no belief that she could land it effectively. It's not so much the technique, it's the psychological mindset and intentions behind a punch. And ALYCIA kind of gave off that impression, I'm not bothered about what you do. And that transferred through to Terri. But the most important thing is your fighter has to fight his fight. And Terri basically gave up all her power to ALYCIA. She had nothing left for herself. This can happen not just in boxing, but in life in general, giving your power to people. ALYCIA hurt her in the second round, big right hand, and pulled her to the ground. That didn't help Terri's confidence either. Terri needed to throw left hooks. She didn't throw no left hooks, but she was just traumatized to carry out what she wanted to do. Even when you looked at her and Steffi Bull before the fight, he's trying to G her up, and she's just transfixed, trying to warm up and get loose. While ALYCIA, before the fight, you see her hugging her entourage, her coach, and giving them high fives. The energy's good. She's totally in the moment. And then could have been the third round. They were both throwing big punches, but ALYCIA was just that more composed, even though she was the shorter fighter, probably had less of a reach. She landed a big right. That hurt Terri as well. And then in the fourth, it was a counter punch by ALYCIA. A counter right hand. And Terri was out on her feet. She was out on her feet, and the referee did well to save her from taking the follow-up punches. Title was gone. It reminded me of one of them old school American versus English fights. Not saying it happened all the time, where the American just seems to be so confident and the British guy just can't match the confidence. Like Bruno versus Tyson in the second fight, and the occasion just got to Frank, didn't it? Pre-fight, I saw videos of one female boxer, a prominent female boxer, talking about fighting Baumgardner and about her power, that she might be one of the hardest hitters. And there was a lot circulating around about her, and maybe Terri fed into it a little too much. Now, personally, I think ALYCIA was just a better fighter, but it doesn't help if you're in awe of your opposition. One of the better displays of female boxing that I've seen personally, and it's on the back of my back and forth online with Rosie Perez and her homegirl who jumped in. You don't have to force women's boxing down anybody's throats. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Women's boxing has got where it's got so far organically. Performances like that speak for themselves. A very classy pugilist. I want to see more. ALYCIA Baumgardner.
Until a highlight reel right hand, and another one, and this time it is all over. 2.
I don't think I'm ever gonna forget Darren Barker screaming, "Oh!" as the final right hand landed, and Kid Galahad lost his titles. Now, where Terri Harper may have lacked confidence, was Kid Galahad a little overconfident? Tony Bellew post-fight, he spoke about the Winkerbank style, and that could be the curtains on that style. Even though Dominic doesn't teach traditional Winkerbank like his dad, you could say Galahad was the last of that Brendan Ingle Winkerbank style. Switch hitting, hands down low, making people miss, pushing them off balance, and all types of little tricks. Was it a coincidence that Junior Witter was training Dom Hunt? Junior Witter, former WBC light welterweight champion. He is traditional Winkerbank from the Brendan Ingle school of boxing, straight from the Harold Graham playbook. Hands down, switch hitting, and all the tricks. And Dom Hunt's opponent, Flint, is it Flint or Flint? One of his seconds really looked like Ryan Rhodes. Was it Ryan Rhodes? But anyway, back to Dom Hunt. Tony Bellew was pointing out he keeps his chin way too high. And that has been a criticism of the traditional Winkerbank style. Chin way too high up in the air. And he got away with it sometimes because of reflexes and sometimes because James Flint didn't have the power to make him pay. You know, Tony was saying, yeah, they think they can fight with their chins up in the air because they're stepping off with their feet, so they're never going to catch the impact of the punches. And he said if he was fighting them, he'd just keep his chin down and just wait for his opportunity because they're asking for it, literally. Leigh Wood, he gave us some insight because he's trained with Dom Hunt at the Winkerbank. And he said they do a lot of punching drills and it's just a lot of fitness work and constant punching. And the head is static in a lot of these drills. Whereas with other coaches, they'll spend a lot of time on head placement, head movement. But Tony Bellew was saying that, you know, Brendan Ingle is one of the best coaches that the UK has ever produced. He's a legend, but they haven't modified that style after all these years. In saying that, who else is fighting in the tradition of the Brendan Ingle, Harold Graham, Naz, Johnny Nelson, Winkerbank style? I think Kid Galahad is the last of a dying breed. You know, leaning back with your hands down. There was him being an ounce overweight, having to come back, taking an ounce off. An ounce doesn't appear to be a lot, but when your depleted body is calling out for electrolytes and food, that ounce is a bitch. You know, you just got to look at someone like Kid Galahad. There's not an ounce of fat on him, and like, he's got to get another ounce off. Leigh Wood said that we've seen Galahad take harder punches and not go down. And he pointed out the Warrington fight. Warrington doesn't hit as hard as KIKO. Warrington's not a puncher. He's an aggressive guy, but he's not a puncher. The facts are, is the kid was in control of the fight for 5 rounds. Well, for 4 rounds and 2 minutes, 40 seconds or whatever of the 5th. He was in control of the fight. He got caught a few times, but he was well in charge. But he looked like he could possibly force a stoppage. And he got hit by a massive looping right hand. End of story. That's that. People are saying there's no way that Kid Galahad can rematch KIKO immediately. Well, look, he's going to take his whatever suspension, is it 6 weeks, and recover a little. People are forgetting that he was well in charge of the fight. This can happen in boxing. He was well in charge. Now, depending on any physical carryover or psychological carryover, a couple of adjustments here and there, he could win the rematch, conceivably. Now, Terri Harper is another thing, you know what I mean? Like, ALYCIA just looks too hot for her. Just looks a little too hot for her. You see, Kid has been doing what he's been doing for years, pulling back, hands low. His hands were near by his rib cage when he got hit with a left hook. And normally his chin is solid. A lot of fighters, if they're not used to getting hurt by headshots, can start buying into the notion that they might have an iron chin. Remember Doug DeWitt in the 80s? He beat fringe contenders like Mike Tinley, Dangerous Donnelly. He had a draw with him. He was a very good puncher. Lost the UD to Robbie Sims, Marvin Hagler's brother. He could crack a little. He stopped the likes of Iran Barkley and has got a victory over Duran. You know, went the distance with Milton McCrory and Thomas Hearns. And then he fought this trial horse who could hit a little, Jose Quinones. Bam! 3rd round knockout. Hung his chin out there, got a little cocky, put him to sleep. It's funny, he took Milton McCrory the distance. I just said that. I remember when Milton McCrory got knocked out by Don Curry, and he was in shock. He was in shock. And you know what he said? I never thought this could happen. I thought I had an iron chin. Yeah, some boxers buy into that. Believe it or not, this could be a blessing in disguise for Kid Galahad. Could be. Or it could be the end of his career. I mean, he might get tapped by innocuous looking punches and go over from here. Who knows? Sometimes once the code is cracked, sometimes there is no return. But it could make him a better fighter. It could. I want to look at Kid Galahad's corner, Dominic Ingle and whoever else was in there. Now, it's a world title fight. There's a lot on the line. A lot of money, glory, and all that good stuff. But like when Sonny Liston was beating the crap out of Chuck Wepner, after the fight was stopped, they asked Sonny, do you think Chuck Wepner was brave? He said, no. He said, I think his cornermen were brave for letting him take that beating. That's what he said. And I think sometimes cornermen get caught up in the moment, don't they? Heavy knockdown in the dying seconds of round 5. All Dominic is thinking is, see if he can revive him. Scream out instructions. Keep away from him. Use your footwork. He's still thinking about the title. But what about Kid Galahad's well-being? That's the last thing on his mind, that he could possibly be hurt. The coach is almost blocking that out. Nah, there's no way he can be hurt. We're going to get through this and he's going to retain his belt. You know, in hindsight, like I've heard Jimmy Tibbs talk on the matter, but it makes you wonder how he let Michael Watson go out for that 12th round after taking an uppercut from Eubank in the 11th. We can all talk in hindsight, can't we? Now, Terence Crawford, probably more than any fighter in this era here, I don't need much of an excuse to watch a Terence Crawford fight. In the last couple of days, Top Rank put his fights up with Khan and Brook. So post-fight Kell Brook, he was asked what fights he wants, and the pundit said Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. The pundit from ESPN is asking, how are you going to get them fights? Terence turns to Bob Arum like, you got any answers, Bob? And he says Terence is the best welterweight and they don't want to fight him, and so on and so on. But next week, Bud will be fighting Sean Porter almost a year to the day from that Brook fight. And how the landscape has changed. Now, I don't think it's going to be easy like a lot of people believe. Sean just doesn't do easy, does he? I think it's going to be a tough fight. But, you know, I expect Crawford to win it. And if he does win it, he goes from the guy who couldn't get the fights to the main man. Not only the best fighter at the weight class, but he'll be the money man. Pacquiao's retired after losing to Ugas. Ugas, well, after he beat Pacquiao, all people were speaking about is what a great career Manny had when he retired. They weren't talking about Ugas. He certainly ain't the money man. And he's pondering if he's going to go in this tournament with these new contenders who've popped up, which is designed to resolve the situation about the multiple champions for that WBA strap. Errol Spence, that retina injury took him out of the Pacquiao fight. And Ugas obviously took his opportunity. But, you know, where does Spence go without Crawford? If Crawford beats Porter, where does he go? That's if he's recovered from that retina injury. There's some speculation that he may turn up to Vegas to watch Porter versus Crawford, and he wants the winner. I haven't heard anything from him directly. Now, I'm not writing Porter's chances off. If Porter goes over there and beats Crawford, nobody's going to be listening to Mayweather saying Tank is only fighting in-house fights and this other side of the street talk that Spence came up with. The PBC are going to have to dead that. If there's good matchups that could be made with PBC fighters and the opposing network of promotion companies putting up the bread, well, you sent Sean over there. What's your excuse now? You know, that's the simplicity with boxing, and it's always been like that. Okay, you're putting up the bread, the location, the money. Well, you take the fight, your network and promotion, the company take the fight. When the PBC came along, oh, we don't care about that no more, went against the grain of how it's normally done. Anything else is just making a complicated situation. Now you sent Sean over there, you've opened up a whole can of worms there. Now, assuming Terence will win, and if Terence wins, without Terence Crawford, you tell me what pay-per-view you can put Errol Spence in. What pay-per-view can you put him in? Ugas? They ain't doing no numbers. Ugas versus Pacquiao was Pacquiao's lowest pay-per-view numbers in years. People ain't turning up to watch Cubans. Keith Thurman? Does Keith still box? Errol's already fought Danny and Sean. You know, all of a sudden, people are talking about Benavidez and Charlo. Next for Canelo, it has to be. Why does it have to be? Their resumes are trash. Me watching them both as fighters, I'm not impressed either. Eye test, resume, not impressed. And a lot of the PBC fans are just assuming that, oh, it's going to be on the PBC, because the last fight was, well, Canelo done what he had to do. He got his belt. He's undisputed. I mean, he's got a better relationship with Eddie Hearn than he does with Al Heyman. The Charlo and Benavidez fights, yeah, they could be viable, but why not on DAZN? It's not like the PBC have any bargaining power left after Caleb got his head taken off. You know, like, let's say Wilder wanted a fourth fight with Tyson Fury, and Bob Arum dug his heels in and said, it has to be on Top Rank. In all truth, Top Rank controlled the last promotion, didn't they, really? PBC were co-partners, but it was a Top Rank production. But this time around, Bob might just want to control it all. If the PBC want to keep it on a certain side of the street, they need to win. You need to win. You need to beat the Furies. You need to beat the Canelos. And then we go back to the original. You got to cross over this side of the street. Errol Spence. If Crawford gives Porter them hands on another level, well, there's a few scenarios. If Teddy Atlas is right and Crawford is about to break his contract with Top Rank, well, Crawford has options. He has options. He could go to the PBC and make the Errol Spence fight, but all that 60-40, 70-30 shit that Spence was saying, no. You're going to have to talk to Crawford like a grown man. That won't be happening. I'm not sure how many fights Crawford has left on his contract after the Porter fight. He's going to be entering the judicial boxing ring with Bob Arum. And from what Teddy's saying, Crawford has a strong case. He has a strong case. Let me just throw a few things out there. I'm not a law person, but I'm just going to throw a few things out there just to keep it interesting. Dereliction of duty. What would that consist of on Bob Arum's behalf? Well, he's came out saying he can buy expensive mansions rather than promote Crawford's career. I'm not putting no more money into him. He should be promoting himself. He's also came out and said, I protected Manny Pacquiao from Crawford. And this is why social media is dangerous for anyone who not only has means and money, if you have plans that could lead to you having means and money. You never know when it's going to catch up with you. And it's all out there. Bob said a lot of shit. Guys like Sergio Martinez and Rigondeaux. Was there a case of dereliction of duty, how he handled their careers? Now, in a court, who knows what Bob can pull off. But, look, Bob is old and he's arrogant. And I know he's a law person, but when did he last upgrade his skills? Like, if he's to be believed, he was getting his legal information on the arbitration from Tyson Fury's lawyer. Where's your lawyer? He's old. He's arrogant. He said Eddie runs off the mouth too much. No, he runs off from the mouth way too much. I was thinking about it. Like, Canelo's next few fights, they're not going to be for undisputed. They're just going to be regular defenses against fighters who don't have the same market value as him. So the likes of Caleb Plant are not in a different tax bracket to Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith. What I mean by that is, like, without Canelo, they all earn around $1 million per championship fight or whatever without Canelo. The same with the likes of Benavidez and Charlo. Benavidez, as far as I know, he's never done pay-per-view. How much did Charlo and his brother do on that card? Well, about 100,000? Not big draws. Is there any reason why Canelo couldn't end up back on the app fighting any of them guys? I mean, I think he's still got a fan base on the app. I don't think they've just disappeared. I think some of them would like to see him come back and they get their fights for the subscription price, if that's possible. If there's an outstanding challenger, then yeah, it might go pay-per-view on DAZN, but why can't it go back to how it was? If Al didn't lay out the money for Caleb Plant Canelo, DAZN were going to do it. I mean, we got Kovalev, Yildirim, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, all for the subscription price with Canelo. So what's changed? The 700,000 that he done on the PBC, are they going to get greedy now? We'll see. So according to Michael Benson, Eddie Reynoso has revealed he's held further talks with Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn about potentially training AJ for the Alexander Usyk rematch. Reynoso, he has many physical qualities and I don't think he takes advantage of them. I tell you what, yeah, if Reynoso trains Anthony Joshua to beat Usyk in the rematch, his stock is just going to go through the roof. They're going to be looking at him like a magician. I would like AJ to try and learn a bit of Spanish. I know they'll have a translator there, but the more you can limit the language barrier, the better. We're going to get the nitpickers and the experts and everything about training and boxing. He shouldn't have went to Eddie Reynoso. He should have went to this guy. Okay, so Eddie Reynoso trains arguably the pound for pound best fighter in the sport, but AJ shouldn't go to him. You think you know somebody better. This is rationalizing. This is what I'm saying. Not all of us can be experts on this topic if we haven't trained any champions. You know, I mean, I could come out and say I'd like Eddie Mustafa Muhammad to train AJ. But then again, I've got a lot of respect for Eddie, so I'm going to say that. And he is a good coach, and he was a really good fighter too. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. You can't guarantee winning. There's nothing you can do in preparation for a fight that's going to give you 100% a shot at winning. There's just nothing. I don't know if Usyk can up his levels. We don't know. All I know, if Reynoso is training AJ, I want to see the uppercut. I want to see it.